This is the 426 Hemi Mopar crate motor that the guy wants to refreshen. It looks really good. He's put a Indy intake on it and a Edelbrock heads and a bullet cam, and other than that it's just the way it came. These were factory rated 465 horse. This is going in a 65 Coronet that his father had, and these two sons, I guess, inherited the car, and they built the car with their dad, and they drag race it, bracket race it, and stuff. Just a fun car, and we're going to tear it all the way down and freshen it up. I'm hoping it cleans up on 5 over, and it's not that old. It's maybe got 10,000 miles, they said. So let's just dig in here and see what we find. Well, it's really nice and clean in here. He had bolts in here holding the intake, and that's, I don't know, there's something about that, and you could feel them dragging coming out, and if you put the intake on studs, it really makes it easier. Not to mention, these are only 1/4-inch bolts, and it's aluminum, and you don't want to be messing with that. If you mess up threads on a 1/4-inch bolt that's at an angle like that, you know, you can't just helicoil it real easier. You'll sleep better with studs. But really, it looks good and clean and nice, and I mean, I think it looks great. This thing sure is clean inside. Looks really good. I don't know how to read these crate motor stampings. It says X899, unless that turns around and goes with this whole line, which is MG093668X. I'm finally getting some labor out of Joe. He's actually working instead of sitting around smoking cigars. So we were going to check the cam timing, see if it was degreed where we thought it was supposed to be, but the previous owner took it out, and so we can't get that information, but that's okay. We're going to get this thing torn down and see where we're at on bore size. Hopefully it'll clean up on 5. I've never really seen brass shims like that under the rocker stands. I understand what he's trying to do, but I've just never really seen that. Everything looks good here. I've got Joe over there working, actually. Now these Edelbrock heads have a larger intake valve, which is 2.32 inches instead of 2.25 on all the street Hemis. And I wanted to show you this. I've shown it in other videos, but it's really interesting. All Hemi head gaskets, and I've got them all over there, the 64, 65, street Hemis, the race Hemis, all of them. And they all have that right there. See how that comes back? In 1964, Tom Hoover and the boys knew that it would go faster if you radius that, and they gave you the room to do it in the head gasket. See how it's set back there? But on the Edelbrock heads, they tell you can't run their heads on a 4.25 bore, which is what this is, because of the valve trying to hit the head right there. So let's hope these haven't been hitting. You can't see it, but we will probably radius that just because Edelbrock wants it that way and give it a little clearance there. This is a stock street Hemi piston from the good old days. Now, we had better gas back then, and the stock street Hemi compression was 10 1/4 to 1. When they came out with the crate motor, they put these pistons in, which look to have a lot less dome, and these are 9 to 1. And that's because the gas is a lot worse nowadays, and that's all fine and dandy, but this motor came with cast iron heads. But the Edelbrocks are aluminum, and we feel that on today's premium you can go 10 1/2 to 1, and we're hoping to wake this thing up and make the man some more power. We're thinking the pistons are going to do the trick. But, you know, they just looks like a little more dome on these 10 1/4, and that makes sense. And now for the moment of truth. Is it going to clean up on 5 over? That's what we really want to know, right? Because if it doesn't, then you're going to get issues with getting the right rings. You know, I mean, we're going custom pistons, but you have to be able to buy rings. But it's 3/10 over. So we are home free. No, I lied, really. That's on the other side of... That's on the other side. We're not to standard yet, so we're good. We're going to go to 5 over, and everything's going to be wonderful. Now, when I put the torque plate on there, this is going to expand the top 7/10, so we're going to be a 1/2 thou too big. But everything's good. I was kind of sweating that because it's already been allegedly freshened up once. So, you know, obviously I was worried about cleaning up on 5. Everything looks perfectly clean and wonderful in here. Those look like Eagle H-beam rods. I'm thinking that is liable to be an Eagle crank. And I'm not sure who was making the pistons for them at that time, but it all looks very beautiful. So far, so good. This number 3 rod bearing is really, look at how it's trying to slide out. It's got no spring to it, and but this is the bad thing. Look at this. Look at that. I mean, I hope that's coming through for you, because it looks just terrible. I have no idea why. And this is the number 3. I hope this is coming through for you, because it is just really terrible. This thing, I have no idea what's going on. Well, the crank looks really good, really. Which it's supposed to, you know, it's low miles and all of that. The main bearings, let me show you the main bearings. There's something funny looking about the main. I'm going to have to find out what these are. It says Cleveite micros. I thought micros were Babbitt. It says Cleveite micro. I thought that was Babbitt bearings, which would not be proper for any application other than a pro stocker. I'll do some investigating. They don't look bad, but I don't know. Have to do some investigating. All right. think we'll just hone them all a few strokes and then make our measurements. The way I see it. We're still under. We're 2/10 under on the bottom and 4/10 over on the top. We're under on the bottom there. And a little bit big on the top. Little under. Little big. You know, technically, little under, little big. So let's call that 3/10 big. So as soon as I put the torque plate on, then that means that it's going to be 1 thou big. Now, could we theoretically, yeah, we could go standard. I mean, well, you could buy 2/10, you could buy 2 thou, I don't know. I need to call Diamond and just ask what their opinion is. What?
Somebody told me they like to leave as much meat in the block as possible for the next rebuild.
Yeah.
That sound like anybody you know?
That's the way I like. I need to. Of course, I got to check the other side. So, it's very interesting. I think it's a matter of calling Diamond and seeing what to do. Basically, I think it was a great day. There wasn't any huge shocks. One of the strangest was, how in the world do you break a dowel pin off in a block? And the other half was still stuck in the head. I pulled this out with my fingers because naturally it's supposed to slip fit in there, but what is that mess? I have no idea. And I'll show you a couple other things. I did look up the cleveite, and that micro is Babbitt bearings like I thought, and that has no place in a car like this. That's a very forgiving bearing for a pro stock application, or maybe a pro mod or something where bad things are liable to happen, and the Babbitt bearing is forgiving in a real bad situation. I don't know. Everything looked pretty good to me. The main thing we're going to have to do is find out. I've got to do the other side, and we know we're about a thou big right now. And, we've still got to go a little ways. We don't have a perfect cylinder wall yet. I probably need to take out another thou. Well, that's 2 thou loose. And even though you generally have to go a little bigger to match the piston anyway, we'll have to do a little ciphering on that. Sure, it'd be nice to save it as standard, but that was unrealistic from the get-go, and I never thought about doing that. But we may be able to do a little something. I don't know. I've got to talk to some smart people about that. There was some little thing on the rocker arms I'd show you. I don't know what happened there. I sure can't explain how this rocker stand got beat up like that. I mean, the stand doesn't do anything but hold that shaft, and it looks like it, I don't know, ran into a buzzsaw or something. But that doesn't hurt anything. It's just cosmetic, but still, you wonder. Now I'll have to strip this piston down and try to get a weight on it, and got a little bit of scuffing there. I'll have to get a weight on it and see if we can find something close to that weight and not have to pay to rebalance. But I thought we were going to have to balance it all the way anyway, like always when you change pistons. But it's been a good day.